So when we look at the world of Chainsaw Man, devils are a really big deal. They're basically in existence just as much as you or I or normal humans in that world. However, as the anime continues on, you might find yourself thinking there are way too many devils for me to keep track of, and what's the difference between each devil? What makes what devil so special? Well, in today's Chainsaw Man video, we're going to explain everything you need to know about every single devil in Chainsaw Man. For this video, we're not going to explain devils as a whole because I already have a whole video on that topic, but instead we're going to be looking at every devil in Chainsaw Man as individuals, including their powers, and we're only going to limit it to part 1 of Chainsaw Man. Jumping right in, we're going to start things off with the series protagonist Denji, i.e. Chainsaw Man, whose lovable pet Pochita is actually the Chainsaw Devil. Despite being cute and having a cuddly appearance, the Chainsaw Devil is literally putting fear into the hearts of devils everywhere, and it's for a really good reason. The Chainsaw Devil is one of the strongest devils in the entire series, arguably below only the primordial devils, and thus is able to fight off throngs of devils all alone without any type of issues. However, that's not the only reason why it's feared. When the Chainsaw Devil consumes another devil, it literally erases them from existence by causing their name that they represent to disappear from the mind and hearts of all of the public. Essentially, things like Nazis and the Holocaust, nukes, they were all erased from public thought and from public history because of the Chainsaw Devil. Even Makima had trouble and could barely recall the names of some devils that the Chainsaw Devil had erased, which is notable because Makima is one of the deadliest characters that we have in the entire series. The Chainsaw Devil has the power that stems from people being afraid of chainsaws. However, there are a few forms that the Chainsaw Devil can take. So we have the sweet and lovable Pochita form that came as a result of Chainsaw's battle against the 4 Horsemen Devils, which left Pochita in a near-death state, which is the version that we're used to seeing. In its normal form, it has 4 arms and chainsaws on each arm, and it has a human-like appearance, and it has the chainsaw on top of its head, very similar to Denji. Then we have the hybrid form of Chainsaw Man, which is what we see Denji transform into. The Chainsaw Devil is able to make chainsaws from any limb on its body, including its feet. It can also disconnect its chains from its chainsaws to ensnare its target and capture multiple people, and use the chains to hook around buildings, as stated by Bean, and this allows it to move more quickly and with a greater sense of urgency. Though we've never seen this per se, this is something we've been told. Now, like other devils, Chainsaw can restore its health by drinking blood, but the Chainsaw Devil, especially as a hybrid, has insane regen abilities that make it a problem to deal with. Now, the Leech Devil comes from the fear of leeches and is one of the first devils that we meet in the series, and is actually the girlfriend of the Bat Devil, which we're going to cover right after this one. So the Leech Devil has 4 legs and has tentacles for arms. While we don't know a whole lot about his powers, what we do know is that it's strong enough that his tongue was able to tear through Denji's body with no issues, and had Denji not been saved, it can be argued Denji might have been in for an even greater world of hurt. Now, the Bat Devil is the boyfriend of the Leech Devil, and it comes from the fear of bats, and like all the other devils, when it consumes blood, it can heal its body. The Bat Devil in its first version of the series has a higher form of intelligence than we see later on in the series, and it has a preference for eating children, and it's intelligent enough that it held the cat that Power was so fond of, Meowie. It held it hostage so that Power can bring it humans to feast on. Its devil powers are pretty interesting too, strong enough that it can destroy a building with a strike and throw cars with ease. Its mouth cannon can shoot off massive air pressure blasts that can destroy buildings, and its wings can fly through the air at high speeds, and its sense of smell is higher than some of the other devils that we've seen because it can smell humans from a few buildings away. Now, the Typhoon Devil comes to us from the fear of typhoons, and is strong enough that it can destroy entire buildings just by going through them, and the wind that it creates is strong enough that it can send people and objects like cars flying through the air. It has the ability to use storm creation, which is done by spinning its body extensions around, and it creates rainstorms, and it can manifest itself into swirling rainwater for the purposes of long distance communication. Now, the Fox Devil comes from the fear of, you guessed it, foxes. The powers of the Fox Devil are pretty much the same as all your normal devils. It has regen from blood consumption, but it also has the ability to teleport to devil hunters who it has contracts with, and those who make contracts with it can summon parts of its body to the battlefield by using the word con. However, the only real drawback to this is that the Fox Devil doesn't like the taste of hybrids, so it isn't most effective against hybrids like Denji. Now, the Future Devil comes to us from the fear of the future, and anyone who makes the contract with it can see into the future to an extent. This is a pretty nasty devil, as it should be, since its power is pretty busted, which is why the price that it asks for is pretty high. It can range from half of the remaining lifespan of a person to the literal eyes of the person it makes the contract with. Aki is able to see into the future for a few seconds, but it required an eye in order to do so. By sticking your head into the hole into its chest of the Future Devil, you're able to see the future that it shows to you. Now, the Angel Devil comes to us on the fear of angels. Now, don't let the name fool you. This devil is not to be taken lightly. The Angel Devil can absorb the lifespan of a person just by touching them, and it's regarded as being the second strongest devil in Division 4. He's fast enough that he can block bullets with ease with his wings. The wings on his body can serve as a shield from other attacks, but we don't actually see the wings be used to take off for flight. Now, getting back to the lifespan absorption powers, here's something to think about that. He can turn the lifespan that he absorbed into a weapon that can be used in combat. 5 years worth of lifespan can make a sword out of his halo that can kill anyone without leaving so much as a mark. 10 years of a lifespan allows you to make another sword, but we don't know the full extent of what it can do because Makima shut down that whole situation before things could get out of hand. 100 years of a lifespan can also be used, and this was done when Makima was controlling the Angel Devil. 1,000 years of the lifespan can make a spear from the halo, and is strong enough that it can defeat the Chainsaw Man in combat when Makima was controlling Angel. Now, the Doll Devil comes from the fear of dolls, and it has the same standard powers that we've seen from all the other devils we've seen in the series, but the true terror of this devil is the ability to make dolls out of people. This is done by a mere touch, and the dolls can turn their arms into blades, but the trade-off is that Santa Claus, the one who has the contract with the Doll Devil, has to remain in the area to control the dolls, which cannot be turned back into normal humans afterwards, and this power doesn't work on beings like, say, a fiend or on a devil. Now, the Eternity Devil is pretty sadistic, finding enjoyment out of the suffering of humans, and its powers include pocket reality creation, which basically allowed it to turn the entire floor of a hotel into a loop space, which made escape damn near impossible. It also has the ability of time stop, which stops time for any person stuck inside of its stomach. It can also create avatars inside of its stomach that can be used to hunt down and kill anyone trapped inside of it. The Blood Devil is the devil that you likely associate with the Fiend power. On top of the standard powers that you see other devils use, the Blood Devil has the power of blood manipulation, which allows it to make weapons out of its blood in its body, and it can also manipulate the blood of other people's bodies, and it can slow down the regen abilities of the enemy by mixing in its own blood. We've seen blood hammers, both big and small, be created. We've seen spears be created, and we've seen 1,000 spears and swords being shot off at the enemy in combat. Now, the Spider Devil is a devil we meet a quarter of the way through the story of Chainsaw Man Part 1, and its powers are interesting to say the least. It can take on the appearance of a woman, though don't let that fool you. It can and it will kill you if you look at her the wrong way when it's in human form. She's able to walk on walls, and she's able to have spider limbs that can penetrate enemies, and it's being shown being strong enough to kill enemies in a single strike. It can go underground and re-emerge in order to strike the enemy for a surprise, and we've seen it summon Makima to hell, though we don't know if it only applies to Spider Devil and Makima, or if the Spider Devil can use this for other devils that she wishes to. Now, speaking of Makima, it's time to speak on the Control Devil herself. This is the woman that likely has you barking at the screen at some point during the anime run. The Control Devil is one of the most dangerous devils in the series, and her power comes from the control and conquest aspect of fear. Her power is dangerous enough that it's both feared and highly desired for a really good reason. Makima is one of the strongest people in the entire world, and when you add in her high intelligence and manipulation skills, you have someone deserving of being feared, and the more fear that people fear towards her, the stronger she becomes. She's got the entire world except for the United States of America in fear of her. Her raw physical strength is enough that she can shatter the chainsaws on the Chainsaw Man Devil. To give you an idea of how strong she is, think about everything you've seen Denji do with those chainsaws. Now, Makima also has the ability to smell on an insane level, to the point where she can smell Pochita inside of Denji, and she knows that Pochita is Denji's heart. However, that's just the surface. Let's just be real for a second. Makima's powers are absolutely something else. The domination aspect of her power allows her to control any person or being who she feels is beneath her, to the point of forcing them to make contracts with her or with any other devil that they might not have normally done so in the past. It doesn't matter if you're a human, a hybrid, a devil, a fiend, or even an animal, you're going to fall under Makima's control. Makima can also use the powers of those who she controls by summoning them to the chains that she has connected to her body. They don't even have to be alive for her to control her powers, and she can control them to the point where their personalities are being overridden. Makima is dangerous. She can take the hearing of the animals she believes are beneath her, and she can use their hearing, which allows her to basically hear whatever she wants, whenever she wants. The only way around this power is to literally write down your conversations on paper. She can transmit her voice in others, and she's used this power to command devils that a person had a contract with. Her power of force allows her to manipulate invisible force that can do internal damage to her enemy just by staring at them. Think of it like an invisible hammer that just happens to crush the target in the most brutal method possible from the inside out, in a lot of cases when Makima uses it. So all Makima needs to do is be at a higher place, have the target's name, and have a human sacrifice ready. When she tells the human sacrifice to speak the name of the target, the human sacrifice is killed and the target is killed almost immediately afterwards. Makima is able to shoot off this invisible power like a bullet, being strong enough to shoot it from her index finger to injure the darkness devil, a literal primal devil, i.e. one of the strongest devils in the series. And she also was able to kill power immediately without any issues by pointing her finger, saying the word bang, and all of a sudden power is dead. She even managed to send the Chainsaw Man into literal outer space by using his power. Makima's feared for a reason, and now you're seeing why. When Makima did make a contract with the Prime Minister of Japan, she did this so that any fatal damage she suffered was transferred to random Japanese citizens, which makes killing her that much harder. Now, the Gun Devil is another extremely overpowered devil in the series and is one of the final devils that we meet in Chainsaw Man Part 1. The Gun Devil gains its power from the fear of guns. Its appearance changes depending on when we see it. So when the President of the United States summons the Gun Devil, we only see 20% of his body, but the guns on his body are so big that they're bigger than buildings. When we see it as a fiend, when it takes over Aki Hayakawa's body, it's got an M19 sticking out of his face, and it has an M16 on his forearm. So as you likely guessed, the Gun Devil makes things go boom boom via bullets, but that's downplaying the hell out of the Gun Devil. We limit it to just that. The Gun Devil is able to shoot bullets so fast that 1.2 million people across the world are killed in 5 minutes. When the President of the United States offered up 1 year of the lifespan of every United States citizen in order to kill Makima, it still failed to do so. Bullet projection allows it to fire bullets from various guns at various points of his body with extreme accuracy. So for instance, any adult male within 1,000 meters of it can get a headshot from the Gun Devil right between the eyes, and it can shoot through the heart of every living being born in the months of January, February, March, June, May, August, September, November, and December. The only time this power was nerfed was when it was in the actual fiend form, when it took over Aki Hayakawa's body. The Gun Devil leaves behind pieces of its own flesh in the form of flesh bullets, and consuming the flesh bullet can make a devil stronger, and the pieces of the flesh can be used to track down the main body if they're kept. The Hell Devil comes from the fear of hell, and it has the appearance of a centaur. The devil has the same standard powers of all the other devils, but when it makes a contract with Santa Claus, we've seen it summon all living things within the area go straight to hell. It can manifest itself as a giant hand with 6 fingers that can come down from a door inside of the sky, and it connects it to all the doors inside of hell. Now, the Muscle Devil is one of the first devils that we meet in the series, and it comes from the fear of muscles. This devil is able to control the muscles inside the body that he touches. So for instance, if he touches your leg, then the muscles in the leg are under his control. The Octopus Devil comes from the fear of octopuses, and it isn't something we've seen a lot of, even in Part 2 of Chainsaw Man, where Yoshida, the devil hunter who has that contract with it, is more of a prominent figure in the story. We haven't seen much of it. However, what we do know is that the Octopus Devil can shoot out ink at his enemies, blinding them and distracting them. Now, the Stone Devil has the powers of petrification, which allows it to turn its enemies into stone. This is done by standing inside of a circle, blowing through the hole that's formed in your hand, but once this is done, you can petrify the enemy that's in front of you. Now, the Zombie Devil is a devil that we see that has the contract with the Japanese Mafia in Chapter 1 of Chainsaw Man, and it has the power to turn humans into zombies that it can control. Anyone who gets bitten gets turned into a zombie. Now, the Tomato Devil isn't really that strong, which makes sense given that people tend to, eat tomatoes and not really scared of them. The only thing this devil has that can actually be useful is that it can come back to life from its seeds, which is why after you kill it, you're supposed to burn the body. The Snake Devil comes from the fear of snakes and has the same standard powers that we've seen with the other devils that we've been introduced to, but its own unique powers are really something interesting. It has the power to absorb beings and release them back into the world under its control, and when it's released, the being is restored to its full health, but merely under the control of the Snake Devil. The Skin Devil isn't one we know a whole lot of because it's only been mentioned, but based off what we're told, the Skin Devil can change the appearance into whatever corpse that they touch. Now, the Cursed Devil is powered by the fear of curses. When we've seen people make contracts with it, the Cursed Devil manifests itself and it can pick up the target, it bites into their shoulders and into its neck, all while crushing their arms. The Ghost Devil comes from the fear of ghosts, and it gives those who make the contract with it the power to use the ghost limbs. One limb is powerful enough that it can lift a grown man like Aki into the air with ease, and its limbs can be intangible, making it impossible for others to touch it, but it can be touched by special weapons, and since it has no eyes, it relies on fear to sense where people are, but the drawback is that if someone fears nothing, then they can't be sensed by the Ghost Devil. Now, for the next few devils, we don't know a lot about them due to the short window where they exist in the story or the fact that they were only mentioned. So the Grape Devil, all we know is that it has the same normal powers of all the other devils that we've mentioned, so stuff like blood consumption and regeneration and being reborn back into hell. The same is true for the Needle Devil, the Pig Devil, the Punishment Devil, the Sea Cucumber Devil, the Mantis Devil, the Fish Devil, and the Claw Devil. Now, the Cockroach Devil, we don't know if it has its own special powers, but what we do know is that it's pretty strong, which makes sense because a lot of people are scared of cockroaches, and it's strong enough that it destroyed entire buildings in its battle, and when it was throwing Denji across the city, it was throwing punches fast enough that it pressured Denji in that battle. Finally, we have the Mole Devil, which gives the power to cause mold to grow inside of a target's body, making their internal organs start bleeding. However, that's going to be it for every devil in Chainsaw Man Part 1. If you want to learn more about devils or devil contracts or fiends, make sure you click here to watch the other videos you're seeing on the screen right now.